right. Well, we're going to wait a moment for everybody to join us. And if you are on unmuted, please mute yourself right now, if you don't mind. That way we won't have as much background noise. And David's going to join us any moment. Weirdly, Laura, Lesley, and I all decided to wear hats today. Have no idea what that was about. So let's see what David shows up with. We did not tell him that we were wearing hats. I doubt he'll wear a hat, but we'll see. Let me just start while we're waiting for David to just say welcome to our 6th happy hour of the David and Chip Show. We have Lesley Blodgett with us today. Really excited about that. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Let me see what are some of the things. Actually, Laura, you were going to say something. There's David. David's wearing a hat. Oh, look at that. All right. How did we all get the same memo?
Leslie's got a better hat, though. Leslie's hat's awesome. I need to pin Leslie's video so I can really scope the hat.
Yeah.
Wait, the glasses?
Welcome, David. All right. Laura, get us started. We're now.
Oh my goodness. So welcome everyone to our 6th episode of Happy Hour. Want to thank you all for coming again. We have a great show tonight and David is going to introduce our special guest.
This is just not working for me.
In a moment.
Quick Zoom.
Oh, sorry about that. If everyone can mute themselves, that'll be great. So I'm going to let David kick off.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Sorry for the little delay. Zoom. We're all zombies, right? It's crazy.
Zombies.
So today we have the amazing Lesley Blodgett, who's my funniest new friend. She's just like one of the most playful, fun, and as an aside, successful people I know. And she's written this like really hysterical book called Pretty Good Advice. And what other kind of advice do you really want, right? Just pretty good advice, right? Who wants perfect advice? I just want, give me pretty good, right? Let's see, I've got to look through my thing here because I'm late, I'm sorry. Chip, tell us about last week. You want to recap last week?
Yeah, let's recap last week's start. So first of all, huge thank you to Barbara Vickar, CEO of Kripalu, who swerved with us. Basically, you know, the times were such that having a conversation about personal growth retreat centers and Kripalu being the biggest one wasn't good enough. We needed to make sure that we incorporated, the moment, which was bringing in a series of African-American MEA alums. Let me make sure I've got everybody's name here. So we had everybody from, we started with Eric Johnson, Bruce Dixon, Masharika Madison, and Linda Grubbs, all of whom gave us an opportunity to sort of understand what it meant to be the other. And if I could just recap and Barbara did an amazing job of talking about conscious leadership as well. I think one of the things I took away from it, David, and I'd love to hear your thought, is if there's one thing that we could do to maybe solve the question of isms in the world, and racism's probably the worst one in my opinion, because people literally kill each other over this one. I think we need to figure out earlier in people's lives how they can be the other. You know, one of the things that's beautiful is when you're the other, it forces you to not be in power, not be in privilege, and actually sometimes represent a collection of people based upon the stereotype of who you are. So as a gay man, I've had to do that in the business world a lot. I had to do that as a white guy, weirdly enough, in a predominantly non-white high school. I had to do that at Airbnb when I was twice the age of that average employee, so I was the old guy. But I think we need more of that in the world, and traveling is one of the best things for it. And of course, we've all not been traveling, because when you're traveling to a foreign land, you are the other often. but that's what I would say is, how do we help integrate that thinking about the fact that everybody in society needs to know what it feels like to be the other? Because when you're the other, you actually have to learn how to translate in the dominant paradigm. I don't know. What's your thought, David?
Well, I mean, as I wrote in that thing that I wrote, that like when I grew up, I was the other. I was the weirdo. You know, I grew up in a little farm town.
You still
What?
are. You still are.
Yeah, I revel in it now. It's fine. It's worked out. But I think that the, you know, I find attacking these sort of large societal challenges really is a little bigger than my mind can handle. But I think it goes back to understanding the uniqueness that every human being has. And we all have this really unique gift, which is us. Like, Chip, there's only one person in the world who can be Chip. That's Chip. There's only one Lesley. That's you, right? There's only one me. And there's real value in that. And I think that this, you know, it's like this sense of otherness. The only reason that otherness is not good is because there's a drive to be like the other people that you see out there, right? And that I agree with you, the travel sense, and I think that, you know, for all of us that kind of grew up as being the other, being that kind of weirdo out there that didn't fit in, we had this built-in ability, like we're attracted to the unusual, we're attracted to the different. Like that's what makes it for us. That's our tribe. Yeah. And I sort of feel like all this sort of like nasty stuff that I went through in high school is like what makes me who I am today, right? Because I can have an appreciation for that. I'm never going to be a black guy, right, but I get that sense of being other. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think Rob sent in a chat message here just a second ago, said it's about empathy. Actually, it's about radical empathy, and it's about moral imagination. So radical empathy says, like, I am empathetic in a radical way, meaning I'm able to think way beyond myself. And moral imagination speaks to this idea of how can we take our creative minds and address a systemic problem with a moral problem, in my opinion, that could use some imagination and curiosity and creativity. So I just
want to say, I think it's just like, it's one little step at a time, man. It's just like taking that, each as an individual, that little risky step of just saying like, hey, how you doing? I get it, you know?
It is, but we have to, like, there's a relentlessness to it, because I'm worried that, you know, a month or two from now, we'll all be from the same alma mater. Where were you? Meaning, like, where were you? Like, where were you? Or where are you today in terms of still making this move forward? So all I can say is last week was less of a happy hour, more of a sober hour. I'm going to have those who have a glass, it's happy hour. I'm going to let you raise your glass. I've just got water this week. Normally I'm a drinker, but last week I didn't drink, this week, or 2 weeks ago. But I think we're going to have a pretty happy hour today, David. So why don't I let you introduce
Lesley, who I've spoken to on the phone, and it's just like, I just want to say, like, the language in your book is just awesome. I wish I could write like you. It's just really great. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell everybody a little bit about Lesley. She's a beauty industry pioneer. She's angel investor, philanthropist. She was born and bred in New York. Go New York. She's a creator, former CEO of a little company you may have heard of, bareMinerals. It's a cosmetic brand found in just about every makeup bag for, you know, decades. And this achievement earned her the Queen of Beauty by the New York Times. And in 2006, Lesley took the company public in one of the largest cosmetic IPOs of the decade in 2010, when the company was acquired for a little amount of $1.8 billion. So she's written this new book, Pretty Good Advice, which I just Again, love the language. It's Lesley's next chapter. It's a refreshing book which features 97 candid and entertaining insights into business, life, and beauty. Personal and often surprising, Lesley dishes on leading with humor and why you owe it to your coworkers not to be boring. It's never boring around here, I gotta tell you. Pretty Good Advice is full of frank, actionable advice to help you light a fire under you. Lesley also serves on the board of advisors for Spanx, board of directors for Every Mother Counts, Stella and Dot. She received an honorary doctorate of humane letters from the Fashion Institute of Technology and established the Lesley Blodgett Endowed Scholarship in the J. and Patti Barker School of Business and Technology at FIT. Lesley is a regular guest lecturer and humor ambassador. How do you get that gig? Can I apply for that? I love that. At the Stanford Graduate School of Business. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And she babysits for her grandson twice a week. Please, my new inspiration, my new role model, Lesley Blodgett.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to be here. Thanks for having. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Yes, we can. Tell us about your hat.
I have about 75 hats.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wear
I had
them all
no
the
idea.
time. And while I've been on quarantining and sheltering in place, I've crocheted 51 beanies. 51 beanies since sheltering in place.
That is
I
your
usually have them stacked behind me, but I tried to do like a cool background for you guys. I don't know. Well, thank you guys for having me today, and to all your participants for showing up.
right.
Thank you.
So there's like the first part of one of the first parts of the book is this idea of describing people as food.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. So I hate bios. I don't want a Wikipedia page. I don't like Googling people. So if I'm having like a social event or introducing people, I don't like do links, and I don't do that whole thing. I don't care about your bio. I don't care what you've done. I care about what you care about, but not like so I will, I love food. I love food a lot. So I thought I would combine my love of food with my favorite people and just put my foods to people and describe them as my food. So for instance, David, if I were to do you,
Oh,
now remember though, if you can't, I don't know if you're vegan or gluten-free, whatever. These are my favorite foods. You just have to go with it. So
I'm
to
in.
me, you are a very fancy pig in a blanket. Like
I have always thought that
best-
about David.
like you are like the best all beef hot dog, the piping hot bun that is just, and like a chef, a 5-star chef is making it. And it's got the perfect mustard that you dip it into. And the reason why, the important thing is you have to explain why.
Please.
Because you are like the most popular person at the party. You're the one that everyone gravitates towards. You're the one that people talk about after the party's over because you have such charm and your clothes, you're stylish. So that's how it works. So you pick your food, you just say why, and you go. I think it's more fun that way.
Okay, but what, Lesley? What food are you?
Well, it's hard. I have never thought of that.
Oh, come
I
on.
don't know. Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot here. What am I? So maybe I am, French baguette, French toast,
Ooh.
which I made for breakfast this morning with cinnamon, a
Ooh.
little crunchy on the outside, but super soft and mushy on the inside. So, that's actually really good. A little sweetness. I put an egg on everything. So it's made with egg. I don't know. That wasn't that great, but that's the
I'm
idea.
liking that.
Yeah.
So listen, when we're out of quarantine, or I guess we are sort of out of quarantine, I'm coming over. I'm hanging out with you. So let me. First of all, I have no idea what food I would be, but I'm on doing intermittent fasting right now, so I would probably be an empty plate.
I swear, if I weren't intermittent fasting, I'd be 200 pounds because my food choices are not healthy. Because when you're fasting this way, you can eat whatever you want for 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's been very disconcerting these last few months. So I'm still eating comfort food, but I'm fasting as well.
What led you to intermittent fasting? Like what, and why do you do it?
I did it because I did the research and I heard that to give your body time with nothing in it, no food in your stomach. Actually, I have no stomach aches anymore, no matter what it is that I'm eating. It's just healthier, longevity purposes. Everything at this point in my life is to live longer. And it's just better to cleanse the system with your body functioning without food in it.
So
Am I right?
I think you're right. I mean, listen, this is a multiple choice. Life is a multiple choice question.
Yeah.
That was a good answer. But, so do you actually get rid of breakfast? It sounds like you don't get rid of breakfast. Do you get rid of dinner?
Oh no, I eat them all. I just eat them in a short period of time. That's what I'm saying. I'm still eating a ton of food. Like I'll have French toast at noon, and then I'll eat again at 4, and then I'm done by 7.
Okay, good. Okay, that's right. But you're in great. You seem to be in great shape. So let's talk for a moment about just leadership, if you don't mind. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on the sober side of leadership, but you took a company and grew it like mega big. And what are the qualities that allowed you to do that? And if you were to sort of offer some free advice to people about, leading an organization or a company and making it bigger, I mean, what is it that is your special secret sauce?
Yeah, well, I think when I was beginning, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So there was only one way to go, was to just learn and figure it out. I think the whole thing happened. bareMinerals is a loose powder foundation that nobody wanted because everyone used liquid foundation. So basically no one wanted the product I was selling. So it wasn't actually doing well in the beginning. But the secret sauce was that from a very early point, I learned that people can coexist with the brand, and we can create relationships. When the company was tiny, I was meeting women. They were helping me. Basically, my customers were advising me from the beginning how to build a brand. So we had such loyalty to each other that a community, we had a community on the internet in the 90s, before Facebook, before MySpace, before anything. We were connecting, and it's because I started on QVC. So that's really what happened. I went on QVC in August of 1997 and talked about my product, me, average girl next door, not a supermodel, not an actress. Usually beauty products back then were actresses. They would hire people. But I went on because I didn't have any, I didn't have money to pay for anyone, and I couldn't afford real advertising. That's why I had to go on QVC. I went on QVC because I was up in the middle of the night freaking out that the company was going to go under. So if you go back, you peel back the layers. So that QVC moment was me, myself, going out saying, hey, I have something. I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about. I know product development. The makeup you're wearing is probably crap. There's probably I didn't say that. There's probably a lot of chemicals in it. It's not that good for you, but if you want a healthy makeup, I have it for you. So we were the first to talk about healthy, good for you ingredients. And then the next week I'm online with women, and that was it. Basically, I was online for 4 hours a night for a year. And then for the next 15 years, I was speaking to these women, they were my advisors, from women from all 50 states. I was traveling every weekend. So the secret really is know who you're serving. I mean, I served people. You're in service too. And really care about them, and listen, definitely listen, but really find way to care about the people that you're serving. And then all the ideas start opening up. Then it starts happening. So that's what it comes down to for me. I didn't even know I was a people person. I'm an introvert. I didn't know, but it turns out I like to help people. Yeah. So I learned so much about myself in this period. Yeah. And it was just about making friends, really.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. David.
Can we talk about arm wrestling?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So Yes, so I did beat 6 guys in an arm wrestling championship in a pizza parlor. They were 4th graders and they were at my son's birthday party, but that doesn't matter.
Wait,
I just like telling the story but here's the thing. I am that person that for years would call out anyone to do an arm wrestle. And the reason is I believe in having muscles. I believe when I feel strong, I'm strong mentally. When I could see, it's not that hard to pop out a tricep, a couple dips or whatever. I need to see a muscle somewhere to get my mental strength. So, and I was so cocky about it. I'm like, hey kid, over here, we're going to have an arm. And I beat every one of them. I mean, what were they, 9 years old? But it doesn't matter. They were boys. I'm a gal. It was, you know. So I believe in muscle tone.
So I didn't realize they were 9. All I heard was a bunch of guys in a pizza parlor. But yeah, but I'm with you on this.
Yeah, I've also beat grown-ups.
But I get you with the strong. I'm like 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's all of like, for me, if like my body feels weak, I feel vulnerable. And what happens to me is I feel vulnerable, then I lose that empathy thing, right? Because then I'm scared of the other, right? I don't feel like I feel like I need to protect myself. But if I feel strong physically, I feel strong emotionally, and I can take in new information that's
exactly
challenging.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I pick up stupid heavy stuff. It really helps.
And you do planks and stuff. I'm not obsessive about it at all. I just know that when I'm feeling off, let me work out and I'll feel better. It's just a principle of my life that I carry. Yes.
So I know what it's like to write a book, and it's a pain in the ass. But you must have loved this. You must have because you don't. What drew you to writing this book, and why is it not 100? Like I think the subtitle. What is it? The subtitle is for people who dream big and work harder. And there's 97 nuggets of wisdom. Why not 100? Come on.
Well, the truth is, I couldn't land the last 3 before the deadline. That is the truth.
I love it.
So we ended up with 97. And you know, the thing about this book is, I guess it's kind of memoir-y in a way, but because I did 97, you have like a title on one side, a short story on the other. So I didn't have to think through what happened in my childhood. It's like scattered all over. It's a super easy read, but they're the ideas that I put down. So it's actually, you guys should consider this. Doing your story in little easy bites is actually a fun way to write it, and people have fun reading it that way. So I would offer that up to you all when you're writing your book. That's actually a fun approach.
That's great. I mean, what I like about, like, there's so much I like about you, but one of the things I really like about you and your book is that it's this playful acceptance of imperfection. It's 97. It's not 100. It's pretty good advice. It's not great advice.
Well, you know, one of my bits of advice is called block it out, which like any psychiatrist would tell you is like the worst advice in the world, which is why it's pretty good. You know, it's solid. It's not bad advice. So maybe block it out. Maybe you don't want to hold that pent up, but for me, I'd rather not deal with certain things so I can move on and get other shit done. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm the Dalai Lama. I'm just saying, right, I've got a couple things that you might like.
You have a great sense of humor, and one of your pieces of advice is lead with laughter. So any story that goes with that from your time leading your company?
Oh my gosh. Well, so humor is humor mindset is a huge part of how I live. And I think everything I do and everything probably we do in our adulthood happened in our childhood somehow. So there was a tragic divorce when I was 9, and I had to keep moving. So I always had to find funny things or sitcoms or doing goofy stuff. I learned over the years that humor actually got me out of a lot of like depressing moments. I still was able to deal with those things, but it just took the pressure off. So when I led the company, and even when I was a manager working for other companies, I would bring some playful, some levity. It's not that I'm like telling jokes, but there's always like at 2:00 in the afternoon at Bare, I would send an email and say, everyone down to the lobby, and hundreds of people, don't wear shoes. Then meet me in the lobby. We turn on 2 songs on the loudspeaker. We just dance for 2 songs. We don't say anything. There's no announcement. And then everyone goes back to work. It's just goofy and silly. And people knew when they joined that if the conference rooms were completely silent, if you're walking by and there's no laughter, that's a bad thing, because laughter builds bonds and it actually creates a love between people. So we encouraged it. It was part of our mission statement, and people loved working there. So and even like the introverts, because I am too, I would find ways for them to participate just to laugh during the day.
Wow.
Love it. It's the sense of play that I just love. It's just so, I mean, for myself, I find that like, I mean, we've all been in these meetings where they're like really serious and it's just like, I find like my brain kind of locks up. But as soon as there's that element of play, I can learn more, I can open up, I can contribute, the empathy is on, the whole thing is working so much easier.
There's a famous TED Talk about a polyglot, which is somebody who actually knows multiple languages. And the number one thing she taught in the TED Talk is the fact that the way you learn is to laugh. When you laugh, you learn.
Wow.
Actually willing. What happens is when we're learning, especially as adults, when we're learning and we feel like we're not getting it right, we get so serious that we actually turn off. We actually we start critiquing ourselves. But I'm learning Spanish now, and thank God.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like a release, like you're saying.
Release, and it's a sense of like, okay, I'm hitting a barrier right now. Let me be a little easier on myself. Let's have some fun, and then we'll get through this. As opposed to sort of feeling like, oh, I'm just an idiot. And so laughing is learning. Learning is laughing. There you go.
Yeah, and I would go on the conference room table in our boardroom and do planks during the meeting.
Yeah.
Just if I knew it was getting a little heavy, so they'd have to look over me or under me. And then in creative meetings, we hand out the caffeine. Then, there was Red Bull. We landed on the floor laughing, then we knew it was a good idea. So we would literally fall out of our chair, and we would stay on the floor the rest of the meeting. Well, which is why I'm on the floor now. Like I sit on the floor all the time. So it was always successful when we would end up on the floor.
Just a quick question. I had a company called Joie de Vivre, and we had a lot of employees, and we had a great culture, and it was fun and community. When you sold, and all of a sudden that family, that community that you had didn't disband, but you moved on, I guess. So how have you built community for yourself since then?
Oh, so good. So yeah, we sold, and then I stayed on for 6 years.
Okay.
But I was still grieving. So we were a public company, and then we sold. So we didn't go from private to private. We went from public company to private to public company in Japan. So, but I was lucky that I had many years. I was the face of the company. I was very involved with the users of the brand, and of course internally. So but I didn't have, my friendships were the girlfriend experience through work. I didn't really have friendships in my real life because I needed my charging time at home, not to talk to people. I had a kid, I have a child and a husband. My husband was 100% stay-at-home dad, and I didn't make time for friends. So when I started getting more time, I'm like, wow, that would be cool to get a friend. How do you get a friend? How do you make friends when you're 50 now? That doesn't seem likely to happen. And I did. And Jennifer Acker is the one who is your friend. She shows up in my book a lot. I became friends with her. I met her at a Fortune conference. And I learned a lot from her about friendship, and she started this thing called the Bridge Group, which were 10 women who are all very busy, very successful careers. And we have basically operationalized friendship. I know that sounds weird, but we all have like careers and family and kids. And so we have certain times a year we have to show up. There's like a no judgment rule. We have to commit to being part of this. We have an overnight retreat. So it's like retreat. This is like serious stuff. We have goals. We hold each other accountable. And it's a friendship group where we don't just talk about like silly stuff. I mean, this is like big issues right now. We have a WhatsApp thread about how are we all talking about systemic racism. We also, if one of our kids is having an issue, so I'm going right from company relationships with my customers, my employees, into a new style of friendship where it's a bonded community. And now I'm understanding how to be a friend. That's not to be a good friend is not an easy thing to do. You really have to put a lot into it. And I'm willing to do that. And I just think you want to be a good friend. You don't just want to be a friend.
Yes. And my friend Vanessa tells me that you are a splendid friend. I'm going to pass it on to David in a moment, but for those of you who are starting to ponder questions you'd like to ask Lesley, go ahead and start putting them in the chat, and Laura will keep an eye on that. And in about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll open it up for questions from everybody. David, back to you.
So, Lesley, do I understand correctly? You went to Stanford after your business. Did I get that right? And then you somehow landed this incredible gig of being humor ambassador.
Yeah.
What is that?
How does that work? Yeah, so I applied to the Stanford Distinguished Careers Institute Fellowship, and I was there for a year and a half. I just finished last summer of 2019. I basically packed up my stuff, got an apartment in Palo Alto. And by the way, I'll be married 34 years in October. And one of the best things you can do for a successful marriage is to move out, which is what I did. So, I mean, we're great. I mean, we're so great, but I lived alone for the first time in my life. I've never lived alone before, eating Doritos and Cheetos. And I went to school. I went back to school with undergrads at Stanford in their classes. Talk about throwing yourself into like a stressful situation. You had to learn how to read a syllabus online. You had to get to class, and then you had to do homework. And then you're becoming friends with young people. And the beautiful part about it was to your whole point with the modern elders is the students are so used to seeing us over 50 people on campus that they never looked at us funny in a class, even a class of 15. It's becoming expected now that people are going back to school. So in the Humor Ambassador, there's a class at the business school called Humor Serious Business, where they're actually teaching using research and teaching the future entrepreneurs how to use levity to create and build bonds and build businesses. And Jennifer Ocker is the professor of that class, and we met at the conference, and then they did a case study on my company and how I led with humor. And that's why I have that great title. Yes.
And does the title come with duties? Do you have to?
Well, I lecture. Duties. Yeah, I lecture, but mostly I just have the title. But I show up and This was an interesting one because we had Zoom. Their term was all on Zoom, obviously. So
what's the name of the class?
Humor Serious Business. And you get the same amount of credit for that class than you do like economics.
Interesting. There's a professor in Southern California. I can't remember his name right now, but he was one of the things that he was able to show is that wisdom is the perfect alchemy of gravitas and levity, and knowing when to actually up the ante on one versus the other. So gravitas meaning like when to sort of like take something that's pretty serious, like we did 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we said, throw the script out the window. We need gravitas. And, and then, so you know when to bring that into the room and when to bring levity in the room, especially when you're cutting through tension and anxiety. So this is, you know, and of course Stanford Business School is has way too much gravitas.
Yeah.
For levity.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that people don't always know about me is that I have a lot of anxiety. I've always had anxiety. So the humor thing is the balance. For anxiety would take over my life if I let it. So I need the humor so I can be like normal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just lives inside me, anxiety.
I got a private question from Christy saying her favorite number is number 13. Could you tell the group what number 13 is in the book? If you got the book right there, unless you know it off the top of your head.
I love this woman.
I know
Oh,
Christy wants number 13. So what is
oh,
piece of
I love. Oh my God, who is this person?
Christy, I met her through her father, who's like an Abe Maslow junkie like me, and you know so take it away. And she's
all right. So Christy, this one is called "Be a Little Out There." So this is about this was my use of horoscopes in an unprofessional way, but I didn't care because I like horoscopes. So basically, it's okay to bring your full self to work. It's it could be a little dicey, but I believe in being a little out there is actually makes you interesting. So I think the fact that she said that is like so cool. It's exactly what it is. Be a little out there. Do something unique and different. Love that.
What's your sun sign?
My sun sign or my son's sign?
Your primary. What's your sign?
That's I'm a Virgo. It's great. I'm sure it's great. But the more important thing is that I wanted a Libra child, and I forced my husband to have sex on Super Bowl Sunday in 1992, and we did conceive a Libra. So that's really the important one.
It's so Virgo to do that, by the way. I just want to say.
Oh my God. All right. Are we starting to get some questions in here, Laura?
Yes, so we do have one from Amir. If you had to do it over again, what would you change about your journey at Bare?
Oh, wow. If I had to do it, this is going to stay on YouTube, so I better be careful. I think I didn't make so many great hiring decisions in the beginning. I had to learn that it would be a good idea to get people who were different from me. So I had a lot of people who were just like me in the beginning, and that it would have been nice to have, but you know what, that's part of the journey. So, you know, all those things, I don't regret any of those decisions. You know, we expanded very quickly, was very stressful. That I probably would have slowed down. I loved how the company was built. I loved that we connected one-on-one. I loved the bus tour, Lady Gaga's bus, taking it around the country. I loved doing cruises with our customers and expanding globally with this idea that loving people is what builds a business, and people getting that in Japan and people getting that in Italy, even though they didn't speak the language. So there's a lot I'm super proud of. And I guess I blocked out the rest. That's my.
So we actually have a question. I love this from Valerie. So why did Lesley want to have a Libra baby? And as a Libra, I'm dying to hear your answer.
I love this group. Well, I think I had this book, Love Signs, in the 80s. And also I knew this guy who was a Libra who just seemed like totally cool. He listened well. He seemed spiritual. He seemed like tapped into the universe in a way, but he also had ambition. I think I based on this one guy that I met, a friend. So, and it turns out my son meditates every day. He's a chef. He has a spice company. He's a dad, by the way. So I'm a grandmother. You know that, you said, yeah. So he got his, I can't even say it. He got his girlfriend pregnant, and now we have a grandchild, and they're getting married soon. So where was I even going with that? Libra.
Libra.
Yeah, boy, see, went off on that tangent there. Yeah, I love Libras, and I love all of the signs. Capricorns and Libras, I think, are some of my favorites.
Beautiful.
Oh, my husband's not either one of those, but I love him too, though. He's a Pisces.
We have a question from Gil Gorton. What would you advise someone today if they wanted to create a brand in the beauty care industry?
So I get asked this question every week, and I talk to people who have ideas all the time. And my thought to you is do it, because there is never too many beauty brands on the market. What you need is a great idea and nothing stopping you from getting that idea out there. Beauty is self-confidence. Beauty products are make you feel good. And if you believe you can do that for somebody else, you should. And then you get creative. And I think creativity is the answer in innovating in different ways. The reason that Bare took off was unconventional because we didn't have money to be conventional. If we had a load of money and a lot of investors, we would have failed, because we would have been in advertising and showing up where all of our competitors were. We had to go where they weren't. And that's why one of the chapters in the book is called Get Desperate. So when you're feeling, for me, when I'm feeling like nothing is going to work, that's when the ideas would come. So, and I do believe in this moment that we're having in history right now, that the strong-minded people love this stuff. They love to rethink and reimagine what the future is going to look like. And I think if you have it in you, that it's very possible to get it right.
Another question from Diane. Any female role models that inspired you early on?
Wow. So I met Estee Lauder when I worked at Bloomingdale's behind the counter. She came in to do a book signing, and she signed my book, and I still have it. And it was some motivational thing. And so there were a lot of the beauty companies back in the day were founded by women, but no woman actually was the CEO of those companies. So I like the idea of a woman's ideas getting out there, but there weren't a lot of CEOs at the time. So
here's a question from Annette. How much would you attribute your success to luck, and how much was hard work? How much?
Oh my God, these questions are so good. So I have a whole section in the book about luck, and I believe in luck. I really do. And I believe in luck because I am the luckiest person on the planet. I've won so many raffles. I found $100 bills in the street, not just pennies, $100 bills. I went to this conference and they wanted me to put my name in the fishbowl. There were 500 people there. And I said, you know what? I always win. I'd rather not. They said, you have to do it, because they wanted my email address. I won. It's just, so I believe in luck. And here's the thing that I learned about that. I just saw a blog post about it. People who believe in luck, and anyone could do it. It's free. Anyone can do it. You just have to tell yourself you are. You actually make these little connections along the way. You're just working super hard. You're always looking and always trying to make things happen. You don't even realize it by calling it luck. So I'm a lucky person that worked her freaking ass off. So I believe in that.
From Ileana, how do you see the beauty industry evolving in regards to how aging is perceived?
Oh, see, that's so interesting, because now I'm 57, and the whole industry is about how to look younger, and people aren't supposed to necessarily embrace their age. And I always felt a little bad that the industry was always throwing fear out on women, like they should feel badly about it. I think what you're seeing now are the younger companies aren't talking about anti-aging anymore. They're talking about just feeling good in your skin, smoothing your skin, doing those. I think it was David, I read your blog post about what what does, tweaking look like, or how do you stay young and fit? I think the language, really, it comes down to brands and how are you going to communicate the way you want people to feel. And I'm a huge believer in language anyway. And in the beauty industry, a lotion is a lotion. It's not like instantly overnight you're going to look better. So you really have to communicate in a way that's compelling to get that story. And I think it's moving away from looking younger.
I just want to say on that Tom Ford, who I think is sort of incredible, Tom is now, I think he's 58, 59, he's like our age. So what he's done is he's decorated the inside of his house with pictures of Georgia O'Keeffe when she was older, so that he can shift his paradigm of what's beautiful.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
We have a great question here on sharing best practices for marriage for someone who's been in one for 30 plus years and who looks so content. And the question from Amir is asking, can you please break it up in short-term, mid-term, and long-term? And by the way, when he wrote short-term, he wrote shower-term. So short-term.
Take showers together in the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we've been married a long time. We definitely, I think with Keith, he doesn't have an ego. So when it turned out that I was the one that was going to pursue the career. So what happened with us is the kid was born and we decided whoever had the better paying job would be the one to work and the other one would stay home. So when you have, and he, oh my God, he's the most nurturing human being. So I can't say I was the breadwinner and I was out there and I was creating relationships that he would come into and I was his social life. So we just knew our place. We knew what we were doing for each other and we supported each other in that way. So when I would come home from a long trip, he would be there to make my re-entry into the house even better. We had our rocky moments, trust me. I was always, I was envious of his relationship with our kid. There's to this day, super close. They have a bond that is beyond anything that I would have with my son, but that's okay. That's what you do. You don't resent, you don't regret. And even laughing, is very important to me, but we have very different senses of humor. He doesn't find me at all funny. I don't find him funny. In fact, somebody recently told me how funny he is. I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? So in this case, it's not, we do watch stand-up comedy every night. So we laugh at the same things, but I think it's perspective. We made it this far. We're sticking it out. It's just, and the other thing I put in the book, I don't know if you guys will appreciate this or not, but there's chivalry, which isn't what you think it is. If you look it up in the dictionary, it's just showing respect. And I think that's what it is. We both do it with each other. So we just understand each other's place in the world. I don't know if that helped, if that was a good answer.
It's a good answer.
Okay.
It's pretty good advice.
Listen, it's an accomplishment to be married that long, that's for sure. Let's see, let's take another question. What advice do you have for people who are suffering the revenge of time to forget about the beauty products and accept the fact that they are beautiful as they are in their own way?
Oh, I love that. So I believe that beauty is generous, which means the more beauty you can see in the world, the more beautiful you will become. And that means nature, that means other people. By looking at others, almost what David was saying about Tom Ford, when you have to be able to see people and find them beautiful. And there is a way to do that because we all are. So the more you do that, if you can love the way you look in the mirror, you have to learn how to love yourself without makeup and with makeup. love the way you are seen in the world. So I think that, listen, my face is falling down. I don't care. I can smile, and it turns up. You know what? Smiling is the best way to firm and lift your skin. I am not kidding you. I've been in the beauty business for 35 years. That is the number one thing to do. It's about how you see beauty. The more you see it, the more you believe it.
I don't remember who it was who said it, but I think they said happiness is the ultimate cosmetic. I think it was Joni Mitchell, but Laura, back to you.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask Lesley if she had any questions she wanted to ask Chip and or David.
Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. So I like, one of my favorite books was the Daily Life of Ancient Romans. I like to know what people do, their routine. Like, what do they do to feel alive, to feel connected in the world? What is your morning routine? I mean, those type of things I will take on and listen intently.
David, go. You can go first if you want.
It's the same thing all the time, right? Except I'm in Park City, so it's a little different. I get up. The first thing I do is I have two 16-ounce glasses of water with salt and a little lemon. Pound that back. Immediately 10 minutes of meditation before I touch the phone.
Oh, wow.
Grab the phone because I do business in Europe, so I got to see what's going on. And unless there's anything like critical, put the phone down. And then I go out, and we've got this sort of loop around this little subdivision we're in Park City, and there's a pond in the center with ducks, and they have little ducklings, right? They're like baby ducks. And so then I go out, and I don't listen to podcasts, I don't listen to the news, any of that shit. And I look at the clouds, which are incredible here, and then I look at the ducks, and I look at and I count how many baby ducks there are. And then I come in, and then I start my day. That's what I do.
Woof.
Love that.
Love it. And routine and ritual are the same thing. So I'll call it a ritual because it works for me. And what I do is I get up, I go up to my terrace upstairs, I meditate for between 10 and 20 minutes. If I can do 20, I prefer that if I have the time. Then I do isometrics, a variety of about 15 to 20 minutes of isometric weight workout. Then I do an inversion machine. And I am upside down for about 6 to 8 minutes. And I meditate again, upside down. And then I come down and take a shower, and I do four prayers and 6 mantras. And the 6 mantras I do 3 times each. That's my ritual every single morning.
Wow.
Weird.
What time do you wake up, Chip?
4:30.
Wow.
I was a monk or a farmer in a past life because I wake up before the sun does. And
When do you go to sleep?
I go to bed relatively early. I go to bed. I'm usually in bed by about 9:30, and I'm usually reading for a few minutes, and then I do a meditation. I do what do you call it? Not insight meditation. Insight timer.
Yeah.
I
use that. It's great.
As to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Wow.
In this bed, the bed I'm in right here with my headboard.
Lesley, we're really unconvinced that Chip ever leaves the bed. It's very Sunset Boulevard down there. We haven't seen any evidence of this yet.
Well, I was watching the YouTube videos of the happy hours, and I thought that was like a mural or a piece of art.
No, it's my
his
headboard. It's like, everybody gets to go to bed with Chip. So what? You have one more question for us, and then I think we've got to wrap. If you have a question.
Yeah. So, Lesley, who's your idol these days and why?
Oh, wow. I would say my mom. My mom. She's 83, lives alone in Santa Barbara. She plays bridge 2 hours every day on Zoom, and she's not complaining at all, and we can't go and visit her, and she's just staying positive, and she's always been a role model of mine. So I think it's mom.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I would say the same for me. Oh,
Mm.
mom. Yeah.
And dad. It's Father's Day coming up, so I'll say dad as
Oh,
well.
there you go.
Yeah.
So I think we're really right toward the end here. So first of all, let's just give a huge, round of applause to Lesley. Go out and buy her book. It's absolutely a scream. If you enjoyed her personality and her point of view and her leadership philosophy, go out and learn more about it. I mean, this is a great time to be reading books these days because a lot of us are spending more time on our own. With that, I think, I don't know, David, did you have any other thoughts?
Loving people is what builds a business. Can I get like a t-shirt that says that? Like,
Yes.
I mean, that's the name of the game, right, Chip?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Lesley, any last thought to everybody else before we do a little wrap moment here about what's next?
I just want to thank you. It's been really an honor and a privilege to be invited to speak with you today. I'm very inspired by this group of people that show up because I've been coming as well. And such a creative group. And I hope you continue to do this. And thank you just sincerely from the bottom of my heart.
And we were talking earlier before we were online with everybody that we want you to come when David and I are teaching at the Modern Elder Academy, January 3rd to the 10th. I think Lesley would be a nice special guest that week. What do you think, David?
I'm going.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have too much fun. What can I say?
Yeah, no, the whole week's about vitality and having a good time. That's really sort of do you remember the title? What is the title again? Something about
like
vitality and vivaciousness.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up by just saying we're going to keep it a secret as to who we're bringing on 2 weeks from now, right, David? I think we're keeping it a secret.
Yeah, it's going to be good though. It's good every week. What is this, number 6?
This is number 6, exactly.
And they get better they've all been great, but tonight was fun. I like having fun.
It's nice to have some levity back.
Yeah.
Laura, do we have a donation that we're supporting?
We do. So as many of you know, Lesley sits on a couple of boards, but the one that's super important to her is Every Mother Counts. So I'll put that in the chat box if you can make a donation. And it's been such an honor and privilege to have you, Lesley. I've had so much fun since last week, kind of, chatting and talking. And I just want everyone to know what a good human being you are. And she really took this personal, this being a part of this happy hour, and wanted it to be perfect. So thank you everyone who joined. And I look forward to continuing speaking with you, Lesley.
Oh, same here. We're friends.
Yes. Well, it's the hats.
Well, let's actually go ahead and, Don Archepo say it's a wrap. That's the end of our happy hour. We'll see all of you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.